File test operators are a little bit different. They look a little bit different than some of the other operators, and they might be unfamiliar to you unless you've done some shell programming in Unix, in which case they would be familiar because that's where they come from. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll make a copy of the operators.pl file and call it filetest.pl. And we'll open that up. And I'm going to go ahead and start by grabbing a listing of the current directory, all the files in the current directory, and do that like this. And this is another little special operator. This is the directory listing operator. Actually, that asterisk in there is just a wildcard. I could, if I wanted everything that starts with a D, I could do that. We just do this, and this is a very common thing in Perl. It just gets a quick little directory listing. And there are other ways to do it with modules and object-oriented programming, but this is quick and easy, and it's another special variable that's also an operator. You'll see that construct now and then. So we'll go ahead and step through this for each. My file name of that dir list and message fn. Go ahead and save that and run it, and you'll see we have a list of this directory, and it's got all the files. You can see them also listed over here. I have created a directory in this directory. It's just an empty directory. You look at this in the Finder on this Mac, you'll see there's a empty directory with the little folder symbols. Some people call them folders, some people call them directories. Older folks who have been around for a long time tend to call them directories, and the newer folks who have been just using computers for a few years tend to call them folders, because that's a relatively new way to refer to them. But we have 3 plain files in here and 1 directory. So we'll close that, and we can see that listing here. Now, in our program, we want to know which of these are plain files, which of them are directories, maybe how big are the plain files, maybe the permissions of the files, things like that. We use the file test operators for that. So what I can do here is I can say if -f fn, and that'll tell me if it's a plain file. And fn is a plain file. And else message $fn is something else. If I get up in the screen there and save that and run it, you'll see that a directory is something else, and the other ones are plain files. So one also test maybe for directories. So I can do an else if -d fn, and that'll tell me if it's a directory. I'll just go ahead and copy this line, because a lazy programmer is a good programmer. Call that a directory. Save and run. So directory is a directory. Filetest.pl is a plain file, and those are all like that. There's something else, of course, in a Unix file system, and a Mac is a Unix file system. You might find symbolic links, you might find named pipes, you might find other types of things, and there are tests for those. We don't use them very often, and we're just going to cover the really common ones here. If you want to see a complete list, just highlight this -f here and bring up the Perl doc, and we'll maximize this. And you can see an entire list of all of the different file test operators. And you can see there are quite a lot of them. A lot of them refer mostly to Unix file systems, and some of them apply in other places as well, and it doesn't hurt to use them in other places. You can get things like permissions, you can get things like symbolic links and such. For example, if we wanted to get the size of a file, here we have in the plain file section, we already know because we've tested here that inside of this block we have plain files only. So I can say my size equals -s fn like that, and that'll give me the size, and I can put in parentheses here. I can say $size bytes. And if we save that and run it here, we'll see that we have the number of bytes for the plain files. So those are the file test operators, and that's how they work and how you use them. Again, these are the really common ones, and if you want a complete list, you can look in the Perl documentation for a complete list of all the different file test operators that are available in Perl.